Okay.
Good afternoon or good morning. Or whatever. Good evening.
Good afternoon, John. Good afternoon. It's evening here in the UK, but it's afternoon for you in the US.
Yes, it's 4 o'clock here, so I guess it's 10 there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's 9 o'clock now, so
9 o'clock.
yeah, it's good to have you on the show. Thank you very much for coming on to grace us with your presence for our 100th episode series on the Business Wealth and Mindset podcast. So it's such a pleasure to have you on. I follow quite a lot of your work actually, and first time we met was in Dublin last year. You were in Dublin and you gave a talk there. I've got quite a few pictures with you, but you met quite a lot of people anyway.
Did you survive me?
Yes, absolutely. It was absolutely awesome event. It's such a pleasure always to hear you talk. So I thought it would be great to have you on to just discuss a number of things, and quite a few of our listeners will be pleased to to get to speak to you and understand some of your wisdom as well. So I thought first of all, probably if okay with you, just to give us a little bit of background about yourself actually. So your journey from the beginning up to when you started to get into studying human behavior and all of that, because your background is quite inspiring in itself. So if you just take us briefly through your journey and how you got to studying human behavior as well. Yeah?
So I should start with the Big Bang Theory?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah.
I was born with a bit of challenge. I had a foot and arm turned in and a speech impediment. Had to go to a speech pathologist and a foot and arm specialist. When I got into first grade, I was told that by my first grade teacher, I would never be able to read or write, never be able to communicate effectively, probably not mount to anything, go very far in life.
Yeah.
I made it through elementary school by asking smart kids questions, because if I heard stuff, I retained enough information from hearing it to some degree, but I just couldn't write very well and couldn't speak very well, and I didn't know how to read. And so my vocabulary was limited. I left school at a young teenage stage and became a street kid. And because when my parents moved from Houston, Texas to Richmond, Texas, there weren't a lot of smart kids, and I just started failing. And I was more interested in sports because when I got out of my braces as a child, all I wanted to do was run. And I got pretty good in my arms and legs once I got out of my braces. I made an effort to really use them and strengthen them. And I picked up surfing when I was 9, and Texas wasn't the surf capital of the world, so at 14, I hitchhiked to California and down into Mexico. At 15, I went on to Hawaii, and I set out to be a big wave rider on the north shore of Oahu. So I lived at Ikai Beach Park, where Pipeline is, and I surfed Waimea Bay, Sunset Beach, those places. And did pretty good there. Got into some surf movies and things, and but then I nearly died at age 17. And was unconscious for almost 3.5 days. And luckily a lady found me in my tent where I was unconscious and helped me get recovered, and led me to a health food store, which led me to a talk. And a gentleman named Paul Bragg did a presentation one night in an hour that really got to me. And that night was the first time in my life I thought maybe I could overcome my learning problems and learn how to speak properly and read. And I had a desire to do it because I had to wear a dunce cap when I was in first grade. I didn't like being called stupid, So I had a dream that night to overcome my learning problems and be a speaker and teach, of all things, to overcome it so I could learn to speak properly and learn and be intelligent.
Yeah.
And that night I got a vision of what I wanted to do. And then with the next 3 weeks with this man helping me, I got a catalyst to move forward on that. I ended up flying back to California, hitchhiking back to Texas, taking a GED test, which is a high school equivalency test, because I never finished high school. And lo and behold, I guessed and passed. It was a miracle.
Yeah.
Then I ended up trying to go on to college, but I failed. And it was just a fluke that I passed that test. And I almost gave up when I realized I got a 27. Everybody else gets 75 or above. I had a 27. Wow. And it was so embarrassing that I really was crying. I went home and I cried on the living room floor, and I just was in a real dark moment where I just didn't know whether to go forward, to go back surfing. My dream about being a teacher and being intelligent was shattered. And my mom said to me that night something that really made a difference to me. She said, "Son, whether you become a great teacher and philosopher and travel the world like you dream, whether you go back and ride giant waves like you've done, or whether you return to the streets and panhandle as a bum on the streets, which you've also done, I just want to let you know that your father and I are going to love you no matter what you do, what you decide." And that was the most amazing thing to have happen. Because in that moment, my hand automatically went into a fist of determination. And I said to myself, I'm going to master this thing called reading and studying and learning. I'm going to master this thing called teaching, healing, and philosophy. And I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to travel whatever distance. I'm going to pay whatever price to give my service of love. I'm not going to let any human being on the face of the earth stop me, not even myself. And I got up and hugged my mom, and I went in my room and I got a dictionary out, and I made a commitment to memorizing 30 words a day in that dictionary until that dictionary was mine. And I worked on that with the help of my mom, and we grew my vocabulary 30 words a day until my vocabulary was strong enough to be able to read some things and eventually pass and eventually excel. And from that day on, I never stopped reading. And I started reading every hour I had available. I'd read 20 hours a day many times just to try to catch up with everybody else and to excel. And slowly but surely, people started coming up to me and asking me questions, surprisingly. And I started my teaching career, and that led on to when I got to the University of Houston, having 100, 150 people under the trees every day asking questions, which then led to classes 7 days a week in professional school that I taught. And I just read and taught and read and taught. And here I am 48 years later, reading and teaching. And
Wow.
in anything that maximizes human awareness potential and evolves human consciousness and helps people do extraordinary things and live an amazing, inspired life, I'm interested in. So that's broad. But I today I research, write, travel, teach, and I do that 7 days a week.
Yeah, brilliant. That's quite an amazing story, John. Thank you. So just probably to pick up from the sort of self-development and personal development side of things, I wanted to, if you could just explore with us, or sort of advise how one can master one's life in the sense of how can we find our purpose or our vision on earth, or as a broader question, what is the purpose of us or each individual being? What are we here for? And how can we determine that?
Okay.
It's a big question.
Many philosophers have debated for centuries whether there's an inherent teleological purpose in the universe. Going back to Aristotle, he believed that an acorn was destined to become an oak tree. And he believed in telos, a teleological final cause or final ending that we were all striving for innately in it. Others saw a flaw in that model and didn't see it. Albert Camus said that, there's no inherent purpose in the universe, but individuals can derive one. And so I was interested in what that is from a universal and a particular perspective. And what I found is that every human being lives by a set of priorities, a set of values, things that are most to least important in their life. And that set of values, that hierarchy of values, is unique like a fingerprint. No two people have exactly the same set of values. And whatever's highest on that individual's values, they are spontaneously inspired to fulfill. It's an intrinsic value that they feel called to accomplish. And whatever that is, and it's not necessarily finite, it can evolve over time by experience. But whatever that is at any one moment, that's what we're committed to. And that's the most fulfilling and meaningful and inspiring, purposeful thing we can do. And our purpose at any moment is an expression of what our highest value is.
Yeah.
Mine is teaching. My purpose is teaching. I've been doing it 48 years plus. But whatever that is, and there is no right or wrong value system. Everybody has a unique set of values, and they tend to project their values onto others, think that, oh, people should be like my values.
Yeah.
But everybody's needed in the equation. Everybody's needed in the society. There's some people needed to be dedicated to raising families, some to business, some to finance, some to intellectual pursuits, some to social causes, some to inspirational, spiritual missions, some to have, financial wealth. Everybody's needed, and everybody, based on their voids and their experiences and what they think they want to fulfill in their life, is honorable. And people don't get that. They want to make it, well, here's a universal morality or a universal value system, but it's never been found kind of scientifically. It's just believed by somebody who's automatically, arbitrarily picking it. But giving yourself permission to prioritize your life according to what's truly deeply meaningful, that you spontaneously are inspired from within intrinsically to go and take action on a daily basis, and structure it in a prioritized way where it serves other people so you can be compensated and remunerated doing something you love to do that makes a difference and solve problems in the world, is one of the most fulfilling paths I've observed in people who excel, that do great achievements. So finding out what you could call the métier, the calling that the theologians have called, the thing that they feel that their soul's calling, is the thing that is most authentic to them. Whatever's highest on an individual's values, their identity revolves around.
Yeah.
Mine is teaching. My highest value is teaching. My identity is revolved around that. I'm a teacher. But somebody's values may be raising a beautiful family of children, and they would be called a mother. And some may be researchers, and some may be chemists, and some may be astronauts. Everybody's needed. Some may be leaders of armies, and generals. Everybody's needed. The world needs everything in order to make it work. And one set of values may be complete complementary opposite to somebody else. So what one's dedicated, the other one is interested in destroying. And that's part of the perfection. Because just like in our body, we need build and destroy, anabolism and catabolism to make up metabolism. Society must have these complementary opposites to make it work. Because that's what gives you support and challenge in your life, which maximally is shown to grow. We need both prey and predator in a food chain. We need both support and challenge to maximize our growth in life. Mm-hmm. So, being honorable enough to have the courage to be yourself according to your own highest values and not conform and subordinate to the herd's expectations of some universal value system that they're just traditionally following without thinking and parroting, and giving yourself permission to be an unborrowed visionary with your own set of values is very profound.
Yeah. Wow. Thanks for that, Jen. But within that context, then, is there a hierarchy of needs and how you get to realize your values? So, for example, you've probably studied this Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which says, as people, we need food and shelter first. So if my value, for example, is singing, for example, I can sing all day long, but if I haven't got food or shelter, then it doesn't serve me in any way. So that's why I guess people will pursue and see other people who are successful across, maybe they're making money and all of that, and they follow to do something which is not in line with their values, but because they have to eat, they have to make money. So how would you say about that? Is there something that you have to do first, maybe to have food and shelter before you can move on to do things that are congruent to your values?
Yes. Derek Denton, who I had the opportunity from the Philly Institute in Melbourne, Australia, I had the opportunity to spend time with, wrote a book called The Dawn of Consciousness, and showed that obviously oxygen, and then water, and then food, and then shelter, and then reproduction. There's a series of needs that is survival. Mm-hmm. And then there's security, protecting that. And then there's socialization, interacting with other people. And then there's self-esteem, and showing what you've got, and you're now getting more secure. And then finally, other actualization. There is a stage of that. But what's interesting is whatever is highest on your value, if you don't have food, that will be highest on your value at that moment. And then if you have that, now you've got food and now you're building shelter, then that will be highest on your value. If you don't have a relationship, you'll be looking for a relationship. If you don't have a business, you'll be looking for a business. So it's automatically structured in survival to thrival pathway. Mm-hmm. And each time you make a step into priority and fill your day with the highest priority actions that allow you to fulfill what's most meaningful and important in that moment, you maximize the journey and increase the probability of growing your self-worth, and also increase the probability of knowing and having confidence that you can solve problems because you're walking your talk and you're confident in what you achieve, and you're more likely to solve other people's problems and be compensated for it in time. So that is the pathway. But some people envy other people, imitate other people, step outside where they are, get smacked back down to where they are to make sure that they're living by true priorities, not somebody else's.